Hello, my name is Madison, and I'm going to be going over the 2021 Minnesota State Fair Horse Show patterns for the equitation. So I'm going to do, not doing the Grand Champion class because that pattern is going to be given to the exhibitors and then they'll have time to practice it just like right beforehand. It's not going to be the one that was given in the book. So we're going to ignore that, but we're going to go through the 6 through 9, 10 and up, and the saddle seat equitation. So, things that I always like to ask myself while I'm looking at a pattern is, first off, what is the judge going to be looking for? How are they going to split up the maneuvers and judge them? How are they going to, what specifically do they want for each maneuver? What's going to be difficult or easy for you and your horse? And again, this depends on how big the pattern is set up, what you and your horse have experience with and excel at, as well as asking yourself, where do you need to be in the pattern? So this can be, where do you need to be in relation to the cones? This can be where you are in relation to your other maneuvers within the arena if there's not many cones, and where you need to be looking, where you need to be headed. And also, how do you plan for success? So how, doing these other things, are you going to make this pattern as easy as possible for you and your horse? So a checklist I like to do while I'm at my stall waiting to go to the warm-up pen before my class is, first and foremost, having fly spray as well as a brush. If you have a fake tail, take like a brush or a comb that you can like fluff the tail with and fix that before you go in, as well as a rag or towel of some sort to wipe off your boots, or if your horse sneezes, wipe off their nose. Making sure you have all tack and equipment. If you're using earplugs, put those in before you get on. Make sure that all of your tack and equipment is correct and safe and you have everything buckled and done up as it should be. And most importantly, of course, is your number. For 4-H, you are required to have a number on both sides of your saddle pad for all riding classes. So they give you 2 numbers, so you can do that. Make sure that, what I like to do anyway, is put duct tape on the back side of my number, especially where the pins go, and then it lasts longer. Make sure you do not laminate or put clear tape on the front side of your number, because then when the light hits it in the show pen, the judges can't read it. So we're gonna go on to the patterns. First pattern is the 6 through 9. So I'm gonna just go through everything first and just talk about it afterwards. So first thing you're gonna do, starting at A, you're gonna walk 2 horse lengths from A, canter on the left lead, to B, continue to canter a half circle until even with B. Trot on the right diagonal until halfway between A and B, continue to trot a half circle until halfway between A and B. You are then going to canter on the right lead to B, and then canter another half circle until even with B on the other side. You are then going to trot on the left diagonal until even with A, stop and back approximately 1 horse length, and then your pattern is complete. So, in reality, this pattern is really, really simple because you are taking the left lead and then getting the right diagonal, which is the exact same thing that you would do on the rail. So you're not trying to get a diagonal out of a lead. That would be uncomfortable or off. And because of how they only have 2 cones here, you can make these on the side essentially whatever size you need to for you and your horse. That being said, though, you need to make sure, the first thing I as a judge would want to see with this pattern is that this distance over here is the same distance as this over here. You want to make sure that you're not making this side huge and this side really small or something. You want them to be even. So 2 horse lengths at the walk. That should be about 8 steps for your horse. At about 6 steps, I would start getting my horse's face and collecting them up before I ask them to go into the canter. So you prepare your horse and you. That's part of planning for success. You're going to prepare to do things before you do them. So another thing too is while you're here at the start cone, obviously you're going to be looking at the judges, but as you walk up, pick something down here on this end of the arena to look at. I think they get rid of the tractor, but like I'm sure there's a poster or something over there that you can stare at. So you're going to stare at that the entire time you're on this line, as well as, you know, an equivalent one over just a little bit for this line. Anytime you're going in a straight line, you should be looking up and staring at something, really. So preparing, ask for your lead, you get the left lead. So how they've drawn like your transitions. So a rule of thumb, you always want your transitions to be on a straightaway or like in a straight line. You don't want to be in the middle of a curve or just finishing a curve and trying to do a transition. That's not setting you and your horse up for success because you're trying to do multiple things. We're trying to make this as easy as possible. So doing a turn and a transition at the same time is more difficult than doing a turn, being on a straight line, and then doing your transition. So this one's fine, but for all of these where you're picking up or breaking down from the trot, I would like to see you go a little bit past this cone first, then do your curve, so that way when you get even with this again, you're in a straight line rather than just finishing your curve. Gonna do your trot, same thing here. I would probably bring, so basically for these curves, I would go a little bit farther for all of them, so that way when you are halfway and you finish this curve, you're gonna be on a straight line. Do that, stop even with this cone. So another thing too is you should keep your eyes up and looking ahead. Don't drop your chin when you're looking for your diagonals. If you need to look, don't like look with your head, just look with your eyes, and then the judge can't see it as much. So that'll help. Yeah, you're stopping back just even with A. It says backing 1 horse length, that's 4 steps. 5 if it's going really well, 3 if it's going really bad. It doesn't say how to exit the pattern. I personally, just to get out of the way for the next person, would do like a sitting trot to the exit, just to get out of the way, but I really think that's all that I have for this pattern, so good luck on Monday. Have fun and thank whoever brought you, and don't forget to pat your horse. Okay, equitation, grade 10 and up. So I'm gonna go and do the exact same thing that I did for the other grade. I'm gonna just read it, go through everything first, and then talk about it. So first and foremost, you're gonna be ready before A. So you're gonna be over here. This is your start. So when it says before A, it doesn't really tell you, you know, how much for before A, but the thing is that since you're walking past it and then backing again, what I would try and do is stop about a horse length before, because realistically, like, you're not picking up the lope here, like, you don't have anything crazy to do, like, you're just gonna walk this line. So as long as you are about a horse length away, you're fine. So I'd walk, and then it just says to go past A. Personally, I would walk about 4 or 5 steps, and then I would back about 4 or 5 steps then, because if you walk, you know, 20 steps past A, then you have to back 20 steps to A. You also don't want to like walk a step and then just back a step either. I would do it so it's a horse length pass and a horse length back. Okay. So then we're going to be on a posting trot on the right diagonal, so rise and fall with the right front leg. Then you're going to change diagonals, go to C, pick up your left lead, go to D, stop, execute a 90 on the forehand, and canter on the right lead to C. Then you're going to do a sitting trot to the end. And yeah, basically I would just continue at my sitting trot to the exit and get out of the way. Okay. So we kind of already discussed this a bit. Start a horse length before, walk past a horse length. So a total of walking 8 steps, maybe 10 if you would like. Then you're going to back about 4 until the rider, between the horse's shoulder and nose is even with the cone. Then you're going to pick up the trot from the stop. So the main thing that I feel like with all the 4-H patterns with getting your diagonals is you're better off being a little bit late and knowing you're going to be right than getting it quick without knowing for sure you're going to have it. So make sure when you're prepping to go into the pen that you practice getting your diagonals. And I always like practicing getting it on both diagonals from the stop and like saying in my mind, hey, I'm going to get the right diagonal this time, and making sure I get the right one. Next time do the left, or maybe do the right 2 more times and then the left once or 2 more times. So you are able to feel and tell and pick, this is the one that I want, and have that. So practice getting it from the stop. You're going to sit for 2 and change when you're even with it. Personally, I would probably sit like a step before, so that way through your horse's 2 steps to change your on it for this curve. Why I have these D shapes here is to show that these need to be the same size. I know it looks like it's smaller on the one than the other, and that's kind of because it is, but that's also because they wanted to give room to show this line and everything. So just make sure that you're not making this one crazy huge and this one super small, or vice versa. You want them to be the same size. You also don't want to go, like, don't go all the way to the rail and then turn and come back. In an equitation or any pattern, you shouldn't look like you're bouncing off the walls. So you're going to complete your turn. Before the cone, you are going to sit and then ask for the lope. You don't want to still be like up in your post and can't like ask them to canter. You want to sit and then ask them. So you're going to sit a little bit before, set them up, ask for the lope, get the lead. If you don't get the lead, you are better off not stopping, but like breaking into the trot, waiting, getting it again, and trying to get your lead than just ignoring them being on the wrong lead. So you get your lope. It says here 2D and at D. And with how this pattern is done, you're basically going to be facing D. So you should stop going directly towards it with your horse's nose and you like looking at D. You shouldn't be on one side or the other. And then do your pivot, because it's not a turn on the forehand, or like basically you're gonna stop about a horse length away from D or a little bit closer. Well, no, do a horse length away. You don't want to be too close, because then when you do your pivot, you're gonna be like on top of the cone. So be about a horse length away. So I'm gonna do a pivot on the forehand to the left. So how I like to think about it is, for turning on the haunches, you add your right leg and the horse moves away from your leg. For turn on the forehand, you're going to move your leg back and push the hip around. So to do a turn to the left, you're going to put your left leg back towards their hip and push the hip to the right, turning and like keeping the horse's neck straight. You don't want to bend their neck, because then they're not going to pivot. They're just going to walk in a circle. So you'll do your turn on the forehand, pick up your right lead, which is really nice because you just had your left leg on the horse to turn them, and now you need to ask for the right lead. And so you're already set up to ask them for the correct right lead here. Then you're going to sit, break them down to the trot. You want this to be approximately the same pace as your other trotting, even though it is a sitting trot. If you really put your weight in your heels and sit light on your seat and sit nice and tall, that'll help you. the worst thing you can do for trying to sit a really big trot is to be like really heavy in the saddle. You want to be light and have your weight in your feet. And then kind of as I alluded to, I would just continue doing my sitting trot straight out so I can get out of whoever is next. I get out of their way. I think that's all I have. Good luck. Thank whoever brought you. Have fun. And don't forget to pat your horse. Okay. So, personally, I'm going to say it right now. I think you guys have the most difficult pattern of them. And, sorry, coffee break. And I can say how I would do this pattern, but it's really going to change depending on you and your horse's experience and where you two are at. But what I personally would do, and also they give not a lot of description here. They don't give you any distances whatsoever. So we really only have to work off of that this circle is probably only going to be at maximum a quarter of your total square. So if you have time to practice in the Coliseum in the morning beforehand, I would definitely practice making the square shape and your circle within it to see how big you want to set stuff up. Excuse me. So main thing is I would definitely not like go to the rail. You never want to be on the rail in an equitation pattern. And plus, even though the judges are going to be up in the stands, if you're on the rail right in front of where they are, they can't see you. So you don't want to be on the rail. I would be at least probably like 4 horses off the rail. Horse lengths off the rail, not a width length, like nose to tail, 3 or 4 at least. So we're going to start here. We're going to walk. I would do probably 1 to 2 horse lengths. Pick up your left leg canter. Try your best to make this a fairly square corner because all the rest of these are drawn really square. So you're going to pick up the shoulders and lift and move them around. You've got your square. That says to walk again. I would make this again another like 2 strides. And at this, like, you want to make sure when you're out there in the morning before, you kind of pick markers. So like, where do you want to be on this side? Where are you going to look here? Where are you going to look here? Looking here and looking over here to keep you in a straight line on these points. Because if you're not looking up at something, you're going to be all squiggly on these. You're not going to be straight. So you finished your cantering on the left lead, you're going to walk. I do like 2 strides here probably, so like 8 steps. Trot on the right diagonal, 2 corner and circle left. At close of circle, switch to... Okay, so this, when I was reading this, I really think at least like a couple of you guys should ask them for clarification, because how I read the pattern is trot right diagonal, 2 corner, so to your corner and circle left. At the completion of your circle, switch diagonals and trot straight. And then in the next thing it says is to walk your corner. So if it said to trot the corner and then walk, that would make sense with how this is drawn. Or if it said to complete your circle, trot a corner, and then switch your diagonals, that would make sense logically to me. But how this is written and how it's drawn doesn't really line up, I feel, at least looking at this. However, the words will take precedence over the drawing. So I'm going to assume that the wording is correct and they meant for this circle to actually be part of your corner. However, I really think at least a couple of you should go and ask questions and get clarification. So, assuming the wording and kind of changing how it's drawn to make it work, I would pick up my trot. Your circle is actually going to be here. Here, I can draw on this magic pen. I should do red so that way you can see. Let's do blue. Okay, can you see? Yeah, you can kind of see. Okay, so we're trotting. How I would actually do it is, oh, that's not good. Do a circle like this. Obviously, that's not a circle. Here, circle. And then this would be where I would change my diagonals. So that is an absolutely horrendous circle. I need to go back to art class. Okay, now that's better. Kind of. Not really. So it sounds like trot right diagonal to corner and circle left. At close of circle, switch diagonals and trot straight. So then you'd be on the straightaway. So I would ask, are you supposed to do the circle and then on the incorrect, air quotes, incorrect diagonal, make this turn? Because theoretically, if you were making a turn to the left, you would want to be on the right diagonal because, you know, things. Or if it's supposed to be obviously prettier than how I drew it, and have your circle actually be a part of this corner. I'm pretty sure this is what they were intending. Again, ask questions. Do that before the class starts. And continue straight. Yay, now we're past the bit that I'm unsure of what they were intending. Okay, then you're going to walk a corner, so I would break down about a stride or two before I would want to do my turn. Walk a stride or two, turn, walk a stride or two. Pick up your lope, so you're going to set them up first, make sure you have them in the bridle. You're going to sit nice and tall, you're not going to lean, you're not going to have your feet all over the place, you're going to have them underneath of you, it's going to be great, although actually saddle seat, they're not going to be underneath of you. You're going to have your feet where they should be for saddle seat. You're going to look up at your point down here, you're going to lope. So, I know this looks like you walk and immediately turn. Personally, I would break about here a little bit beforehand and then turn. Because again, like I said to the other groups, you don't want to be doing a transition and like making a sharp turn at the same time. It's much more difficult. So to make it easier and set yourself for success, you want to plan ahead so that way you're going to break down to the walk and then make your turn. Don't be trying to break down and turning at the same time. You're then going to walk to your cone, stop, and back 1 horse length, which is 4 steps, 5 if it's going really well, 3 if it's going really bad. So that is all I have. However, if they do say that how it's drawn is the shape that you need to make, and you do make this circle on the lead, and here make your change of diagonal, know that this is going to feel really, really weird. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, try not to look for your diagonals. Keep your eyes up, your chin up, and if you need to look down, only look with your eyes, not your chin and whole head. That is all I have for everybody. So thank you. That is the end of my equitation. Good luck at state to everyone. Have fun. That's the most important part. And if you have questions, you can ask them in the comments and I'll try and get to them. Otherwise, you can go to my Facebook. So yeah.